Okay. Call the meeting to order. I'm using Alicia's computer and
Yeah.
oh, you got it. Thank you.
Jim Fewens,
Here.
Kirk Hart,
Here.
Bill Meyer,
Here.
Robert Nelson.
Here. Would you stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I have no comments tonight for the comments of the chair, but we have comments from the public. Don?
I'm Don Banwart. My main job is I am the one of the owners of Fscc Printing Company here at Fort Scott. But I'm here today representing the Scott Township Board of Directors, which is an elected position, just like you guys, the public elects us. We have the, under our umbrella, the management of the Scott Township Fire Department and the cemeteries that which are within Scott Township. The Scott Township is the area around the city of Fort Scott, includes part of the industrial park. We also serve with the fire department, the west side of Lake Fort Scott. Okay, what I'm here today for is, you'll see I have a button on. Theme of my deal is do more with less by partnering with others. Like you guys, I'm a taxpayer here in Bourbon County, and we're trying to do everything to keep our taxes lower. Our department operates on around $119,000 a year. Every year in the last 5 years, we've been able to take our mill levy and keep it the same or lower it. We never have raised it. We have an ISO rating in our department of a 5, which is a stellar rate with Insurance Bureau. The highest numbers are 10, the lowest numbers are 1, and we're at 5. We want to keep it that way, but we have a little problem that we're running against right now. We have stations out on Highway 54, if you notice that, about a mile west of the city limits. We also have a fire station between Extrusions and Wardcraft. Both the land for both those stations were donated by the Wardcraft family and the Pavey family to put fire stations there. We are in need of another station to serve the east side of Fort Scott. We have 2 trucks right now that we do not have any housed in a station. So come winter time, we'll have to drain the water in those tanks. I had talked to the Crawford sales people, and when I found out they had donated the building to you guys, which I think is a great deal. They told me there were no covenants or restricted use for that building or buildings. That basically they wanted to help the community and of course get it off the tax rolls for them. So what I'm proposing today is that we can partner together with the north building only. Understand that the building is to be redeveloped into a weight training session or center. I'm in favor of this. In fact, my son-in-law has schooled me on training. He is the head of the high school, which you guys use now and partner with for your weight training. Jared Martin, he's my son-in-law. Okay, we assist the city of Fort Scott in calls on mutual aid. We also assist the city of Fort Scott on automatic aid. In fact, last Wednesday, we responded to the Greyhound Lodge out north when they had a smoke alarm, and we were paged on first alarm. When we go to help them, we will bring 6,000 gallons of water on 4 pieces of apparatus.
Don, I mentioned you could have 3 minutes. You're
Right.
already over 4, so.
Oh, really? Okay,
Yeah.
I thought it was 2. Okay, so what we're asking is that we could work some way with you guys to use the north building only for a fire station. The city of Fort Scott wants to donate to us their aerial ladder truck. They're getting a new one. Kobe, when you talk to them today, they say when the new one will come in? Okay, I think they're expecting it at any time. So we need a place to house this apparatus. Before they'll, of course, give it to us, we have to have some place to put it. Down the road, we want to apply for grants to build another station. So we're looking at possibly up to 2 years to have a place to house the aerial ladder truck and 2 other trucks that we have right now. So I'm asking some way if we can partner with you guys in this. It would be a savings to both the city and Scott Township taxpayers. I understand you're supposed to vote on it today, so I just like you guys can consider it. We know we're under your mercy, so that's our plea.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to the consent agenda, approval of the agenda, approval of minutes of previous meetings, attached to the minutes of the regular board meeting conducted on July 19th, 2021. Approval of treasurer's report, bills and claims, attached are the treasurer's report and the bills and claims report. Approval of personnel actions, additions, Hunter Reed, assistant rodeo coach, effective August 1, 2021. Dejon Sherman, assistant men's basketball coach, effective August 1st, 2021. Cale Griffiths, custodian, effective August 9th, 2021. Juan Gavette, agriculture instructor, livestock judging coach, effective August 23rd, 2021. Separations, Blake Davis, agriculture instructor, livestock judging coach, effective July 31st, 2021. Kyle Pugh, assistant men's basketball coach, effective July 31st, 2021. Tricia Ham, assistant volleyball coach, effective July 31st, 2021. Jacoby Johnson, academic student support coordinator, effective July 31st, 2021. And Keena Schmidt, Kansas MEP quality control, effective August 31st, 2021. It is recommended that the consent agenda items be approved as presented. Is there any discussion?
I just have a question. Blake Davis, does he go somewhere else?
Who's that? Oh, Blake Davis?
Yeah.
Yes, he took his dad's old position as an extension agent. We're working with the extension
okay,
office in Arkansas,
okay.
where he's from. So
Okay.
he's going back home.
Okay, I make a recommendation, we approve the consent agenda. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Julie, would you call for the vote?
Elliott,
Yes.
Hewens,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Meyer,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Bartlesmeyer.
Yes. Let's see. Anybody have the page?
I think it's 60, John.
Okay, I'm really close. There we go. Consideration of weight room renovate. Oh, no, that's C.
Yeah, sorry, I was gonna say maybe it goes up, sorry.
It's 56.
56, you should have spoken.
56, that's close to 60.
No.
I didn't know either, I'm just guessing.
Action discussion items. Item A, approval of budget publication and hearing date. According to the Kansas statute 79-2929, the notice of hearing on the 2021-22 budget must be published a minimum of 10 days before the hearing date. The 2021-22 budget can be found in the proposed budget packet. It is recommended that the board hold the budget hearing for the proposed 2021-22 budget on Monday. Oh, no, wait a minute. That's the one we have to move to September the 20th. Thank you, Alicia, for reminding me. It is recommended that the board hold the budget hearing for the proposed 2021-22 budget on Monday, September 20th, 2021 at 5:30 p.m. in Cleaver Burris Below, I can't even speak. Cleaver Burris Bellew Hall at Fort Scott Community College, and that the proper notice be submitted to the Fort Scott Tribune for publication within the specified time limits in accordance with KSA 79-2929. Is there any discussion?
So it says September 13th, September 20th.
Correct.
Yes, that's, the second Monday is the 13th, and then the third is the 20th. I can't recall why we said the 13th, but the 20th is the third Monday. And that is
Okay.
also the last day according to the new budget timeline that we can have the
Okay.
hearing, so.
Any more discussion? I'll entertain a motion.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Julie, would you call for the vote?
Hewens,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Meyer,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Bartlesmeyer,
Yes.
Elliott,
Yes.
Item B, approval of budget revenue neutral rate publication and hearing date. New to the 2021-2022 budget process is an additional notice that must be published called the revenue neutral rate per Kansas, the KSA 79-1460, 79-1801, 79-2024, and 79-2925C. Beginning with this budget cycle, the county clerk notifies each entity who receives a mill levy of their mill levy revenue neutral rate. The revenue neutral rate is designed to keep the taxes levied at a neutral rate. An example, 2020-2021 budget, Fort Scott Community College mill levy requested was 29.322 on property assessed evaluation of $110,449,986 for a total tax levy. Is that right? 110 million.
Yes.
Okay. There's just no dollar sign there. For a total tax levied at $3,238,614. 2021-22 budget, the property assessed valuation is $114,037,650 to keep our tax levied at $3,238,614. Our revenue neutral rate would be 28.055. For the last 9 years, the administrative team at Fort Scott Community College has taken pride in being able to keep our mill levy relatively flat. For fiscal year 2021, our actual mill levy was 29.322. And for fiscal year 2022, Fort Scott Community College is budgeting the mill levy at 29.299, making this the 10th year. Administration recommends that the board hold the revenue neutral hearing for the proposed 2021-22 on Monday, September 20th,
Yes, sir.
2021 at 5:30 p.m. in Cleaver Burris Bellew Hall at Fort Scott Community College, and that the proper notice be submitted to the Fort Scott Tribune for publication within the specified time limits in accordance with KSA 79-1460, 79-1801, 79-2024, and 79-2925C. Is there any discussion?
Okay, this is just a formality. The first year time doing this was a formality to go with the budget, published budget.
I believe that is correct, yes.
That's reason we have to do it.
Yes. And because we're going to exceed the revenue neutral rate of 28.055,
Okay,
we're basically giving the taxpayers notification of such.
okay,
The budget hearing and the revenue neutral hearing will be held consecutively
yes,
at the
Yeah.
same time. But what
Right.
we're saying is that we will exceed revenue neutral, or that we may. Like I said, the issue is that, the tax lid is $1, but it's actually based on a mill levy, which makes it really hard because we don't know actual valuations
yeah,
until.
as we discussed, we don't know what the valuation
Exactly.
is.
I think it's a formality, basically.
But the hearing is so you can get input,
Right.
just like the budget hearing. Everything with this got basically pushed back a month. Typically, we would have had the budget hearing in August, but because of this Senate Bill 13, like we said, it's really called you'll hear it as referred to as tax transparency bill. Everything for any municipality, school district, whatever, everything got pushed back a month because of the new bill. With the other thing that we might say that I failed to say is this year, if notice the notice that goes out to taxpayers will be paid for by the county. After this year, if you exceed revenue neutral, then whatever entities within the county exceed revenue neutral, they will divide up the cost, and that cost will be shared by that taxing. So whatever the entity was will be shared as they have to send that out to literally a postcard to every taxpayer in the county. But this year, across the state of Kansas, the county will be doing it, but just this year. So like if we exceed revenue neutral and the extension service and the school district would, then they would divide it up next year, a third, and we would get charged a third of the cost of sending a postcard to the taxpayers in Bourbon County. I didn't put that on anything, but that's how it works. So, just so you know, but not this year.
So moved.
Thank you.
The whole thing's been hard to keep up with, frankly.
Do we have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Julie, would you call for the vote?
Hart,
Yes.
Meyer,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Bartlesmeyer,
Yes.
Elliott,
Yes.
Hewens,
Yes.
Item C, consideration of weight room renovation bid. Fort Scott Community College received a generous donation from the McCourt family of the building located at 16 South Hill Street to house a weight training center for Fort Scott Community College. This is a dream come true and will allow us to better meet the needs of our student athletes. After publicly advertising bids for the renovation of the weight room were opened July 1, 2021. The low bid was received from Tri-State Building for a total of $526,200. Working with Tri-State, we have identified items to remove or specifications to change, and the final contract bid is $474,364. Attached are documents supporting the original tabulation and changes made to arrive at the final cost of $474,364. Are there any questions on these? What was it called? The things we have removed? Because
We,
there was something
They're
here.
listed on page 62.
So there was a deduct for painting and a deduct for not putting a new glass door in.
we
Yeah, there it is,
changed, yeah, they're called VE deducts, which basically they just went back and we said, okay, we can do without that, we can do without that. Just trying to make it more affordable is what we were trying to do. It's still going to be very bare, but very functional. And I think that we can do without and add later if need be. Tom's down there. I thought Tom might want to speak to some of the fundraising he's already done and some of the things he's talked about to pay for it.
So I can go up there.
Sure.
If you wish, yes.
Well, since it's streaming that way, everybody can hear you.
So a big part of this expenditure will be in terms of the foundation and in terms of fundraising. And so we have gone out and secured some sizable donations to be able to go towards this project. However, not all of them. We feel that being able to get some stuff in there, and we have some things planned throughout this semester that will help us get to being able to take more of this off of an expenditure of the institution and more of a donated gift from others in the community and outside of the community. And so we have met with multiple of the businesses in town, and we have gotten $150,000 commitment from Briggs, which we are extremely excited for. The paperwork of that is being finalized and whatnot. And we've got some things that are kind of centered around this semester in terms of other groups of people that are interested in the project and able to be able to fundraise these monies to be able to cover as much as possible. So some of the deducts on there we saw essentially were just things that we don't need immediately, but we will like to have in the future. Getting rid of the office side of things, I got rid of quite a bit of money in there because they had HVAC work in there and everything. And so since that's not an immediate need for us to be able to go in and get our student athletes in the building, they don't need an office at this point. And so getting rid of that was a natural step. And so I can answer any questions as far as the project or any other things that you might have.
Tom, you've talked about the endowment. I was on the endowment at the time we first looked at this, and I think the endowment was going to take on, and that's what you're talking about, some donors. That kind of, I'm off the endowment now, but that kind of, you started again on that.
Yes.
To reach out to some of these people, and I think they're going to be quite generous in supporting this.
I think so. Anyone who knows FSCC athletics knows the struggle that we have with our current facilities, and especially our weight room. Having to run a track team of 90 students or a football team of 100 students through, it's probably half this size. This room is incredibly challenging. And so anyone who has went here in the past 40 years knows that that's a struggle, and can only imagine us increasing our number of student athletes to where we are right now. We are anticipating that we will get a good support, and that's my intention, to be able to move those forward as well.
Well, I think as when this originally came up, to keep the cost down, that we were going to tap the endowment, support from those people, which you've taken on. And, when I look at this, I don't want a cost to the county or, the taxpayers. And I think you've taken care of that. So there's really not going to be any cost to the college per se. We've actually covered the funding. We don't have it right now, but we're
Sure.
covering it.
Yeah, that's the intent of this. Is
Okay,
it's certainly something that we'll continue to do, and it's not something I snap my fingers at and we'll be able to do it.
Okay.
But it is something, over the next couple of years, I'm pretty confident that we'll be able to fully support this through fundraising money.
Okay, that's what I'm getting at. It's going to be, funded by the athletic department. per
Yes.
se.
And through the foundation, but yeah.
Yeah.
And this remodel includes the entire building, is this correct?
No, there's a large part of things that not a large part, but the equipment itself and some of the turf that's going into the south building, the athletic department has already purchased some of that to be able to get it in there. Not only will that help us be able to get in the building soon, but it will also help us be able to use it as a facility that we have already invested in as an athletic department, and be able to show off, come homecoming when we've got a bunch of people here, let's go have breakfast down there and show what this project is, and they'll be able to get a sense of what it is. And so what you see on the bid is the construction bid, or to be able to give us the frame that we need to be able to put all of our stuff in it. A lot of that is already done.
What I'm getting at is the north part that Don Bama was concerned about, that is going to be used by the you planned to use that
Yes.
part already just for the athletic
Yes.
training facility.
Yeah, we've got rubber flooring and equipment that is scheduled to be able to go in there as soon as the construction company actually gets it up and going. And so putting a truck in there wouldn't, it's one or the other because we can't. put a truck
Right.
in.
But what I'm saying is it's already been
Mhm.
specified in the
Yes, sir.
plans as that the college is going to use it for the athletic training facility.
Yes, sir.
That's what I needed to
Yep.
see. Okay.
What's the time frame, Tom?
In terms of the construction bid,
Yeah.
I'm not really sure as far as
Yeah.
when they'll start on it.
Well,
It says May.
yeah, there's a 90-day period on it, and so they will get started pretty quickly.
Okay.
It's fairly minor. It is kind of mind-boggling, the little that, what we're doing. Adds up. We had tried to put just a hard cap of 350 on it, but because of supplies and things, we really had to back off
Right.
of a lot of things. But it's going to be a very functional facility that I think is critical to the success of our teams. And I can tell you that our hope too is that the community will be able to use it some, to walk in and to
Sure.
do those kinds of things. And so we're approaching it that way. We should get started as soon as they can get stuff around. They did have, I think there is a little bit in their bid about, it's a 90-day project, but we do have to give them some consideration. I can't remember what it is, Julie, 60 days because of supply chain disruption. So optimistically, we would be in, November-ish, December. Probably more accurate would be hopefully in by January.
Sure.
Actually, we're already using the building for some bare bones. And remember, this isn't, nothing's air conditioned or anything out there. It's just, it's pretty, but it's still going to be a very functional, nice, attractive facility. And, again, we can't thank the McCourts enough that gave us the building for this purpose.
Oh, yeah. Is there, surely we're going to have something to say about the McCourts donating the building?
Yeah, once we will have for sure open house.
And people who contributed money and donated money, that they should all be recognized.
Yes.
Okay.
Or that's the easy part.
Okay.
Recognizing and giving thanks is easy.
Okay. Anything else for Tom?
Thanks.
I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second. Moved and seconded. Julie, would you call for the vote?
Meyer,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Bartelsmeyer,
Yes.
Elliott,
Yes.
Hewens,
Yes.
Hart.
Yes.
Okay. Item D, approval of CTEC sublease agreement. Following is an updated sublease agreement between Fort Scott Community College and CTEC. It is recommended the board approve the updated CTEC sublease agreement. Are there any questions about this lease agreement?
Just basically the same lease we've had.
Okay.
The difference is that the way that we pay for the lease down there is to pay a portion of the director's salary, which is Chris Mingarelli. And so in the lease is reflected the increase in salary he got, that everybody got. And then it also designates what he's getting from the CTEC LLC, which that money, of course, comes from the Kansas Crossing.
Any questions?
Make a motion, we approve.
It's been moved and seconded. Julie, would you call for the vote?
Nelson,
Yes.
Bartlesmeyer,
Yes.
Elliott,
Yes.
Fewens,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Meyer.
Yes.
Item E, consideration of turf field bids. Fort Scott Community College has been investigating the possibility of adding turf to the softball and baseball fields. Below are points of consideration followed by 3 bids for the project. Tom, thank you.
I don't think you've got to read through that whole thing. Okay, so what we're bringing forward today is definitely the biggest scope of work that I've had during my time as an athletic director here. Our conference in the region really has gone to a turf mentality. There are schools who are on their second generation of turf infields and turf outfields. And we are one of 3 in the region that are left that have natural grass. As you've seen with the LaRoche complex, having even a turf infield is a huge advantage to be able to get on that field and be able to play. And that's something that we really struggle with on our field. Both softball and baseball fields are difficult to be able to keep up and maintain. And we played 2 home games at Johnson County this year in baseball because our field was not suitable to play, and we played Johnson County that weekend, and so we just went up to Overland Park to be able to play our home game up there. Needless to say, that's not ideal. And with the other schools in the region making a move to be able to go to turf, we have looked into deeply being able to figure out how this project could not only happen here, but also benefit both the college and the community. A softball field, the city has obviously the LaRoche complex in our field, which is very nice. We do not have a turf softball field in town, which I think the school district will be able to tell you that that faces its own challenges. What we're hoping to do is to be able to replace the tri-color field, move our softball complex up there, put turf up there, and then use our existing softball field and the field immediately to the east as a softball complex that we will make the tri-color complex. Everyone that I've talked to in town regarding this, and trust me, I've talked to as many as I possibly could, we're very enthusiastic about this because this would bring the tournaments that we see in baseball that brings the influx of people during the summer in Fort Scott in baseball. This would do that in softball. And so it is a big job, but it's also something that will have immediate impact not only with the college, gives us a top quality field, but also gives us the ability to benefit from summer tournaments, both at the community level and through my athletic department. And so it is expensive to be able to have grass in fields. And as crazy as that sounds, over the period of a life of a turf field, you save an incredible amount of money being able to go to turf. When you have to go and replace that turf, like what we're going to have to do in probably 5-10 years with our turf field, it's about 30 to 40% of the cost to replace it. And so as we're saving money every single year, getting rid of field budgets within baseball and softball, we'll be saving money every single year. And then the big benefit of this project comes after the 10-12 year mark, when that field needs to be replaced because it's already paid for. And then that's when you see the big savings. My coach is doing an incredible job of fundraising, both within the softball and the baseball. And John, Coach Hill, our baseball coach, just went over the $1 million mark this year of fundraised monies. And that gives me goosebumps, because if we all were able to throw $1 million over any time into our complexes, we'd probably see a lot of benefit. This is a project that is big, but it's step one to bring our facilities up to the top third of our conference. And so we're not trying to be Johnson County. because we're not Johnson County. We're just trying to be able to be competitive, be able to give the community a place for not only softball, but youth baseball as well. I've got 4 kids within this district, and I spent about 7 out of 8 weekends this summer on the road in Missouri somewhere. And why we couldn't just play in Fort Scott is simple, is because we don't have a complex and a facility to be able to accommodate that. And so this will do it for us and be able to open up those summer softball and youth baseball tournaments. We don't do anything around here that we can't generate revenue with, and this is certainly one of those that is going to be able to generate revenue, not only for the college to be able to pay for this complex, but also for the community to be able to service all those people who come in on a weekly basis. And so on there, I've listed the elimination of what it is, essentially how we're going to pay for it. This is going to be financed over a 7 to 10 year period if we get approval to be able to move forward with it. Those finance options will come to the board next month, which appears that it's going to be a lengthy board meeting next month, but it would be September 20th. And it'll be my job, once we get approval with the vendor and the amount, to be able to go and get us the best deal and what that looks like for us. And so I've listed many advantages that we have, and I'm open for any questions. And I also asked Nick Tepish from Mid-America to be able to come and speak on answer any questions that you guys have on the project itself, or just the overall advantages of turf versus grass and where we're going in this direction.
Some questions.
Absolutely.
Now, basically, to me, there are 4 pictures here, 2 of each field. And do they vary a little bit? I mean, are there pictures?
Are you looking at, I think you're just looking at the Mammoth sports bid.
Yes.
Yeah. And the Mammoth sports bid they only included infield.
Bill, it's page 97.
97, okay, thank you.
Go ahead.
The Mammoth, the pictures that you're looking at there only included the infield and the wings.
That's
what we're proposing. And I decided Coach Hill and I crunched enough numbers over the past couple of months to determine that the best way for us to go would be full turf, because then we completely, because then we completely get rid of the field budgets. And so for us to be able to just do the infield and wings, we're still going to have to pay a considerable amount of money every single year just to be able to keep our outfield looking like it does. And it is expensive, and it's, water soaks into the ground as soon as you water it, but you still pay for it. And it's the same thing with all the insecticides and all that we put on it.
And lately, I'll say in the last 6 months or so, I'd heard that the LaRoche complex was having some problems with their field, as it hadn't been, this is just what I heard, taken care of properly, or they'd let it go in certain aspects, or there were seams that were coming up, or problems with the turf.
Sure. I think, John, I think some of that is just, I'm very confident in my coach's ability to take care of the field. And a lot of that care and field maintenance is just simply the attention to be able to do it. Mm-hmm. We got bids from 3 different companies. All of them are great companies. All of them have current bids at colleges across the state right now. Our recommendation was to go to Mid-America for the simple fact that they are a one-stop crew who comes in. They don't outsource anything. They will come in, they'll have their specialists be able to do the undercarriage part of it, the laying of the turf, and their product itself is very high quality. So, I mean, I can see where it would be a breakdown, but my coaches are absolutely diligent in how they take care of their fields right now. I'm confident on both of them staying here for the long term, especially if we do this. And they're very diligent in how they take care of their stuff.
Okay. What's the average lifespan? Did you say 10 years? Oh, is this the gentleman from the
Yes.
company? Okay.
This is Nick Tepish from.
Nick, yes.
Yep. Hi, how are you guys?
Fine. What's the average lifespan, if it's well taken care of, or is, you know?
There's no reason you shouldn't get 10, 12 years out of a baseball field. Sure, there's going to be some minor areas here and there that you are going to have to attend to. But the field itself should last no problem, 10 to 12 years at a minimum.
And is there any special equipment we're gonna have to purchase?
So we will have a piece of equipment that you will, or Coach Hill or Coach Bryan will use to groom the field, or whoever's in charge of the maintenance. They will use it to pull behind an ATV or sport utility vehicle, something of that nature that will help groom the fibers in the infill, get it leveled out, take care of the fibers, and it will help stand those fibers up over time. I have samples here of the turf itself, but it's a pretty simple piece of equipment, but it is very successful at doing what it needs to do over the course of the life of the turf.
So this would be, like you said, some kind of a vehicle to pull this piece of equipment, just so you'd be able to drive said vehicle on the
Sure,
field without damaging or anything like that.
Yes, the vehicle I'm referencing is like a mule or
Right.
yeah, some sort of
Golf cart type thing. or
yes,
something.
yes, not a full truck, but
Right.
that sort of vehicle. Yes.
And the fortunate part is that we already have the turf soccer football field, and so we know a little bit about how to care for it. And usually we have a company come once a year to be able to groom that field, clean it up, make sure that the infill is where it needs to be. I see much less maintenance on this type of turf because as you'll see there, the underlying fibers, it's a black underlying fiber that you see through the green side of it, keeps that down. And so this is a baseball specific, softball specific turf. It's not something, the turf that you find on a football field would be much farther, the fibers are farther apart.
And don't they have that kind of stuff they put on it?
And this will too.
Oh, this will
Yeah.
too.
But then those cross fibers on the underside of it, those keep it.
So if you look within the green fibers.
See, I can see some.
Yeah, so that's our root zone that holds the infill in place, makes the field more playable. Whereas you have the brown sample that is our, that you would put in the clay areas.
Oh, clay, okay.
The dirt areas, and the biggest difference between those and other turfs is that's specifically engineered to replicate playing on clay
Okay.
and dirt, where others aren't going to necessarily do that.
How's this tied down?
Tied down.
Or held down is?
So it's secured to the base, but the infill that we put into it, just like any other field, it's going to hold in place. It's not going to move around. Our crews are very experienced as far as laying it, installing it, the prep of the base itself. Start to finish, we have our own crews that have been doing it a long time that really know what they're doing.
Start to finish, how long would that take?
I believe 3 months-ish. Brock Wilson is also with me, but if he may be able to answer other questions,
Why
but
is that for both fields or per field or?
that would be,
Yeah, essentially they could go on hand in hand, so, if
So you do one, then just.
started on the softball field,
Yeah.
you would go core that out
Mhm.
and then start building the base, and you could move that machinery over to the baseball field and start working on those, so. Yeah, probably 3.5 months.
Okay.
It's pretty accurate timeline.
Tom, you're talking about doing 3 softballs.
We will have, no, we're only gonna turf one. And so we'll leave the softball field that we currently play on as it is, but we'll use that field for the tournaments. Right now, in the past Buck Run, in the Recreation League, used that field for their beer league softball and whatnot. But they don't use it very much anymore because we started to invest in that field. And it is a great field right now. We laid new outfield grass out there. We've gotten some more dirt. It needs more because that's the thing with dirt is it washes away. That field does have an irrigation problem, which will be a part of this as well. fixing the irrigation problem on the softball field. But yes, and then as we have the tournaments and are able to generate some revenue in those tournaments, we will also start improving simple improvements, not like this, but the east field as well. So then we'll have a complex of 3 softball fields / youth baseball that we can use to host tournaments.
How does the drainage work with the fields?
So there's about 6 inches of rock underneath. Then you have flat pipe that runs throughout the base, and then there's a perimeter pipe that will go around the field, and all of your pipe within the field runs to the perimeter pipe, and then there is a drain that gets it off the field or out of the area itself.
Take about 30 inches of rain now.
What does that mean, 30 inches?
It'll infiltrate about 30 inches of water and disperse it out of the field.
Yeah, that's a lot.
I wanted to just add a couple of things. We've had a lot of water issues. As you can imagine, the current softball field, the water comes down off of that hill, runs into there. And so we had ag engineering out this spring. And basically he told us that, you're going to have to do something there, basically build a berm and redo the water so you can direct the flow a little bit differently, because we have it coming off of the tricolor and also coming off that hill. And so this project would take care of the turf, but it also includes taking care of those drainage issues that we have right now. Water sets on that field and kills the grass every year. And so every year we have to go back and do the grass. And so this would do a couple of things. It's going to give us a turf field that we can play on all the time. It gives us that nice field that now we can keep the water off due to the drainage, that we can then use as a secondary field that we can have tournaments and stuff on. And my understanding, Tom, is that the company would finance for us. We're not going.
Yes, that'll be.
It's not us asking you for $1 million right now.
There's
It's the
also
company financing it, and then we'd have to fundraise to make the payment.
Right. There's also a option to go local with some of the banks in town. And I've talked with multiple of the banks in town to be able to
That's right, I forgot that.
see what is the best option for the college. What we're asking for at this time is the approval of the project and the vendor, and then the financing side of things I'll bring to you next month to be able to, get these guys paid. So another side of this, and one of the huge reasons why I wanted to go with Mid-America is our property line right over here borders the golf course. In Mid-America started as a golf course management, and they work on golf courses. One of the reasons that I really like that company is that's where they specialized and then moved into AstroTurf. We want to be able to clear out our area back there in the future, hopefully soon, but in the future, and be able to have a golf driving range back there.
In collaboration with the city.
Right, which would be able to border the golf course, and that's something that our city golf course needs to be able to, our high schools would love it. I've talked to the high school coaches here and at Uniontown, and they would love to be able to have a place to go. And I think our community would, and it gives us, again, another source of income.
Okay, and the drainage problem on the softball field, is that the reason you're moving to the field that's up on top, the tricolor field?
The drainage problem at the normal field, or our current field, is why we started looking at this. And then when we started looking at it, the benefits of going to turf and then having the irrigation, it gives us an opportunity to make it a bigger scope for the community and not just the college. By being able to provide multiple fields where we can actually generate some revenue to be able to bring that back to the college was something that it only made sense to me to try to figure out a way to benefit the community.
And so tricolor field is the one you're talking about, and that's college property to the south edge of that?
Yes. Yeah.
And west, that's all college property?
Yeah, and so there's the subdivision, Country Club Hills is right there.
Right.
Our property line runs right behind that, right behind those, and goes all the way back to
West.
The Owens house over there.
Are there already lights on tricolor
There
field?
is.
Okay.
So Tom, I'm still confused about the existing softball field. Is the drainage gonna be fixed on that
Yes.
field?
That's part
With
of
this
this.
project.
How are you gonna do that?
Well, it's part of their bid. They came out and looked at it and said, this is what we think that we need to do. And
But
so
you're not
it's-
putting turf on that field?
No, we're fixing it.
It's the
While
water.
the, while the equipment is here to be able to dig up a field and put a turf field in, we're going to fix the drainage problem on that
Okay.
bottom field.
That's what I wanted to hear.
Right now, the water's coming off the tie column.
Yeah.
It goes
It
straight.
comes, yeah, it
Okay,
splits and
okay.
comes
Then-
out of the cycle.
Okay,
Take it elsewhere.
Are you
And
gonna
ag
say
engineering
west?
said
That's what
this
I
is what
didn't
we
hear.
need, and so we took that to them.
I believe it's the.
I'm getting mixed up in my directions here.
Okay, that's south,
yeah.
and I'm thinking it's probably gonna go to the west, I'm guessing, but I don't know.
I think it'll go to the east and still run along that, no, west, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. West.
It is what, actually, there is some that will split and go east according to the ag engineering
Yes.
guy that came and visited with us.
Okay,
Most of it will go back west and dump in over there in the trees. But we will have to redo one of those or the horns over there to get a little more water
Okay.
through there. We will also shut that road down that goes around.
In between those two fields?
Yes.
Yeah, nobody drives on it except us
Students that who go entirely too fast, so.
or people that don't need to be back there anyway,
Okay.
which I always worry
Yeah.
when we get back there, like, what are we gonna find?
Okay. Have
John and I found a bunch
Yeah.
of ticks and ran
Have
into
just
something.
a
and wrecked our vehicle.
question that's always kind of
Said
bothered
we weren't
me.
gonna talk about that.
Oh, yeah.
When we talk about roads, who, what
We don't
about
know.
this road between the fields by the football field that you had to go 5
We don't-
miles an hour on?
We
Is
don't
that
know,
the college or is that the city?
we don't know if it's county or city, but
Can we get the potholes fixed on that thing?
we have,
that's
we've
the
been
speed
working
control.
on that.
So speed bumps.
Okay.
Speed holes instead of speed bumps.
It's just one of the, we have investigated that with the city and with the county. As a matter of fact, before COVID hit, when, we had
I know,
visited
I thought we
with
should
with
have somebody
Jim
fix
Harris,
that.
and we had some plans in place which kind
Yeah.
of fell through, but we will
Okay,
reinvestigate that.
okay.
We won't be diverting water down onto the golf course.
No.
Just the hole that you play the best.
So those holes are already, went 6 and.
No,
5.
no,
I have,
We won't.
I
It goes
have
the
one
other way.
question.
Yes, sir.
And in a previous life, looked at putting turf on a football field, and there was demonstrated a decrease in injuries to kids. Is that going to be the same for this turf?
We're certainly hopeful of it. We won't have football on there, but what I will say is we really struggle with track, being able to find a spot for our kids to be able to go and practice.
Mhm.
And so being able to go and just have them do some of their striders and stuff on baseball instead of having to figure out where to put them, will help out on that. We don't get a lot of injuries in baseball, softball, the knees and stuff. We do get them. The turf would reduce that, but mainly those are football because of the twisting nature of the sport. But I do think that we could bet that it would save some knees over the course of the life of the product,
Thank you.
which would reduce our insurance costs as well.
Could,
Good.
okay.
I think last thing that I'll say is that my coaches and the students spend a significant amount of time every single day getting that field ready. Being able to go towards something like this would be able to make my coaches that are focused on that and make my athletes where they can get out of class and go and immediately start practicing instead of worrying about getting the field ready for 2 hours every day. And that's not an exaggeration. It's a lengthy process to be able to get those fields, both of them, up and going. And this is the direction of where college baseball is, and it would certainly be a benefit for us to start moving in that direction.
Any more questions?
I think we're all for this, and you make good comments, is how we're gonna pay for it.
And so you're working on that.
Yes, I'm working on that. What I will say is that the savings, and there was softball and baseball will donate to this every single year. And so over the course of, until it's paid off, baseball and softball will as well. General athletics will as well. And so this will be another fundraising project that we're looking at. The other savings, the savings with it will come from the field budgets, which will significantly decrease, and to the tune of about $40,000 or $55,000 every single year, which will go into help with this as well. I mean, there will be a cost that is not covered by athletic fundraising and by the savings, but that the college and the community will make up for that in the amount that we're able to make off of the tournaments. And also after that savings, after we get that paid off, that's savings that you can bank on every single year that we still don't have to pay, but it's paid off. And so it's not year one, you're gonna save money on this, but over the length of the project, you do save money and then really capitalize on it after that second generation of turf.
Well, I've gone through this before, talking about turfing the football field and the astronomical cost for natural turf. It's unbelievable. So I agree with you there, because I've seen those figures before, and it's just unbelievable how much they spend on a natural turf.
Are you the one we need to ask why we put in 80 yards of turf instead of 100?
That's my next question. Can we finish off that football field?
That is going to be where these guys are going to help me on next.
Okay.
We have a,
I wanted to say something.
I would say we've got a couple years left on that football
That
field.
wasn't me.
I think we have a couple, probably 5 years left on that football field. And when we go back in and do that, we will do it right and
Okay.
be able to. And again, we'll be looking at 80 yards of 30 to 40% of what it should cost, because the infrastructure of the base is already in
Yeah.
place. Again, how much has that turf field saved us over the course of the, let's see, it was 2010, 12 years, that thing has saved us a countless number of injuries, the water saving costs, the ability to have to fertilize and do everything on the grass. That's a good example of a turf project will save you money once you
Plus
get over
practice
this.
here on campus.
Exactly, yep.
What's the payoff period approximately?
We're gonna be 7 or 10. If theirs is 7 years. Their financing option is for 7 years. If we go through some of the banks in town, which I'll immediately get to work on, we can do a 7 to 10. The other options are, there are certain cost savings within that that are possible, such as the rock, being able to see what's possible, working something out for somebody to donate the rock. That would save a significant amount of money on the project. But that's all stuff in the next month that I have to work on for you guys.
You guys agree with that? Does that sound?
Yeah, we gave you those financing figures. You
Yep.
can't go longer than that. I mean, that's just,
Okay.
that's just our standard. We can't go to 10 years. But lots of times what I'll find is local banks will be a lot more competitive because they know
Okay.
about the community.
Okay. Any more questions?
Just one, but it's not related to money. Are you
Good.
going to keep the tie color?
Yes,
name?
absolutely.
Okay.
I first thought of this and brought it to the city to see if they were even interested in it, because tie color is not used very often right now. And to us, it's a shame to be able to have that, in use. And so I talked to Tom Robertson and I talked to Rachel Pruitt. Rachel knows the Color family, and she went and talked to them, and they were excited about the project. And this would be certainly with the sentimental value of that complex, we would still have it be not just probably that field, but the complex itself.
I know the Color family very well. I know Gary would be supportive, and Sally would be supportive. And for those of you who don't have any idea who Ty Color was, he was killed in an automobile accident about 30 years ago. He slid on the ice right where the 69 makes a turn. And he was an outstanding athlete as a young man. So I'm glad to see the name's gonna persevere.
Absolutely. And the city was, I mean, it does take a huge expense off of the city. When I talked to Tom Robertson, he said that he spends more money being able to maintain Ty-Color Field than he does on all the other fields in town combined. And so it does, doing this and taking that burden off of them while also giving them a youth field still that they can go and use during the summer, will save the city. I don't know what that dollar amount is, but it does take that budget line off of the city.
Have you approached the city about any possible?
That's one of the next steps.
Okay.
I wasn't gonna move forward because this turf bid, if we don't go Ty-Color, the turf bid wouldn't change drastically. And so we could still turf and do our field down there. But the best situation for us and for the community is to do Ty-Color and use our field so we can make it a complex and get some more people in town.
It's interesting too, we own the property,
Mhm.
but the city had the field. There's a lot of interesting sort of handshake agreements out there. But we own the property.
Thank you, guys.
Absolutely.
Any other questions or comments?
I'd like to move to approve the motion regarding turfing field.
Recommended that the board approve Mid-America Sports Construction to complete the turf field projects as outlined.
So
Bill, you moved.
I'd like to move. that,
Okay.
yes.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Julie, would you call for the vote?
Nelson.
Yes.
Bartlesmeyer.
Yes.
Elliott.
Yes.
Hewens.
Yes.
Hart.
Yes.
Meyer.
Yes.
I believe that's the only thing I can do tonight. Letters and correspondence.
We do have some letters of correspondence. I always get tickled about this. They're from the Bourbon, what?
I want to read one of them.
Okay. The Bourbon County Fair. I just love these. So.
Dear Alicia, I would like to thank you for buying my pig. I plan on using the money to buy and show more animals. My favorite part of this project was her personality.
He's not talking about, he's talking about the pig.
Yeah, that says Landon McDaniel. Is that any relation to you? I saw that and I just, I read that to Cindy and
Yeah.
we both just cracked
We want
up.
her back because we can't wait. So if you'd like to experience her personality, in the meantime, I'll give you direction.
That was, okay. I think that's a classic, especially just the whole. Okay. That's the highlight of my meeting tonight. So.
Well, there you go.
Okay, Alicia, go ahead.
I was just, the handsome young man you see there is Jake Harvey. Of course, that's Gary Harvey's grandson that used to work for us. And I believe this is Jake's last year. Is that right?
Jake has moved on.
And
Different Jake Harvey.
not that, I'm talking.
Yeah.
I'm talking about
Tom's
the
tired.
Too
many Harveys.
Not that Jake Harvey, this Jake. Anyway, I really do enjoy these. And Avery, who is Julie's daughter, she just cracks me up anyway. She's thanking us for allowing us to use the rodeo arena for the horse show because she shows horses as well as goats, I think. And did she show a pig this year too?
No, she had a steer.
Oh, that's right, she had a steer. And then Blaine Pitts, we also purchased his pig, and Blaine is Billy Pitts' son, who also, Bill Pitts, sorry, who also works for us. And Blaine is judging for us this year. Is that Blaine? That's his brother. Jackson, I knew that. I'm sure I did.
You do that.
I do now. So anyway, I do really enjoy those thank yous when they come in. And I'll just be honest with you. A lot of times, and Dave can probably attest to this, we get goodies from the family too. So like homemade cookies and stuff. I'm just telling you, they're delicious.
If you got 3 pigs, how come we didn't have ham sandwiches?
The opportunity's not gone.
That's in the future, that.
Yeah, for sure.
That's funny.
She's getting fat.
The Miami County, of course, has their, page down, what happened? Has their, update in there. And before I get to mine, we'll just kind of quickly go around and see what other administrative reports that we have. Gina?
Just a few things. I knew tonight was going to be a pretty intense evening. In the admissions office, we've been, of course, able to get out into some high schools. They're working on the college fairs. They're going to be able to get to some of those this year. I've also asked them to reach out to our students that might be eligible for the Kansas Promise Act scholarship. And so they've made some personal contacts and gone and met with the different groups of students to encourage them to apply for that. We do have a COVID mitigation advisory committee, and we had that last year, so we're bringing that back around this year since we seem to be continuing. But we will meet on the first Wednesday of every month, and that includes faculty and staff and administration in that meeting. And so that group brings things that other people on campus, maybe concerns, questions, ideas, they bring that to the committee, and then it makes it a two-way conversation. They can bring things to us, and they can take things then back to their groups. And so it gives them a place to bring those concerns forth so that we can talk about them. In the Student Success Center, we have our tutors up and going. We have our 2 professional tutors that have continued for the last few years. We also have our peer tutors that are there available to work with students also. The Student Success Center is open in the evenings, Monday through Thursday, so there is some evening time for individuals that don't have regular hours that can come between 8 and 5. Trio had the kickball going on tonight out in the field, so they've been busy planning activities already. They also have an orientation for their new students coming up next week. The Trio program, is a grant-funded project, and the requirement is they have to serve 150 students. And I was asking them the other day how their numbers are looking, and they've already had well over 100 applications just this year. And then we had more than 50 returning students. So their numbers are looking very strong. That's a support system that provides students with some cultural activities, some campus visits, additional tutoring and mentoring, and can meet with them. They have advisors in there as well that can meet with them on an individual basis a little more frequently than others might be able to. So that program is really good. In the advising office, of course, early alerts, which are the notices when a student has missed several classes or their grades have dropped below a C, instructors will submit an early alert to the system, and those go to the advisors. A copy goes to an advisor, a copy goes to, if it's an athlete, it goes to the coach, and a copy also goes to the student. So the student knows that, hey, your grade has slipped. You might want to go in and talk to a tutor, or you might want to come see the instructor for some additional help. And so the advising office, those start ramping up this time of year. And so they respond to each of those individually and text those students individually to have that line of communication with them. That's about all I have. We, first rosters were due today, I believe. And so students that maybe had enrolled and have not arrived get dropped from those rosters. They do the first couple of weeks as we get those attendance reports. Students that haven't been to class get notice. We send them text messages. Hey, school started. Did you forget to come? You missed this many classes. And so we try to make that outreach to students and you'd be surprised. Some of them actually do forget when school starts, or they wait for us. We've had students say, well, you didn't call me and tell me school started today. Okay. And so we do have that happen once in a while. So yeah, it's just nice to be able to reach out to those students, and text messages is the way we can get through to them. So we do a lot of that in our offices, but it gives a direct line back to an advisor for them to do that. That's about all I have today.
All right, not much more to expand on that. We started the semester a week ago. We got through our first full week last week, and so far everything's moving pretty well. Have quite a few new instructors, it seems like, but everybody is moving right along. Our final one, which was Juan, Mr. Gavette, started today. So he is here and already moving in the judging world. So that's a good thing. And No major items, just kind of a heads up. We're going to be, as far as our accreditation process, as a part of the open pathways, we're required to do a quality initiative project. Our quality initiative project, we're going to start discussions on this Thursday, but it's going to be focused on the assessment processes of the institution. So that's going to be a major area of focus, and I just kind of wanted to get that on everybody's radar that we're going to be moving forward as we've kind of been told to move forward with that area. So that's what's going on in my world, and nothing too terribly exciting, which is always a good thing.
Julie kind of already did hers.
Well, obviously, I'm glad this is over with. Only one more month to do that. As far as the departments, it's kind of like Janet and Adam have already said, kind of quieting down for IT and maintenance. They are really, really busy at the first of the year, but both departments have begun to make the comment that it's getting much more quiet and they can get back to other things. Still working on Garrison. As far as financial aid in the business office, our focus is pretty much going to switch from budget and FAFSAs and that type of thing to working on HERF monies. We need to give out some monies again for HERF and COVID and that type of thing, and so we will be working on that. Partially that fees that we have said we would be scholarshiping for students or covering for students. It's to the point after your, whatever you guys just said your drop ad day was. So we can begin that process. So that's kind of where we are tonight. Yeah.
You say Garrison's coming along, but you might mention, I kind of know where it's at, maybe more than you
It's
do.
kind of stuck waiting on supply things.
Something for Big Sugar.
Yeah. Not from us.
Spit it out there now.
The water, the sprinkler systems are waiting on that.
We're waiting on that and the fire alarm system.
Yeah.
Fire alarm is pretty much because of supply issues as far as
Yes.
getting it in. That's the fire alarm. The sprinkler system is kind of the opposite. The contractor for that could not get into a lot of places because of COVID and restrictions on being able to get there. Once COVID opened up, the end of May, first part of June, then he's able to get into all those places, and we're kind of at the mercy of waiting till our turn in line comes. Even though we put ourselves on the list, we're still waiting to get to the top of the list.
Yeah.
So,
But actually, it's coming along pretty well.
yeah, it actually is.
And we're able to continue to use the Mercy building until the Garrison is
Yeah,
ready.
we have students housed in motel though.
Oh, we
Sleep
did?
in.
Oh, okay. Okay. Okay.
But yes, well,
We are full, as Tom would say.
Yes, we are. Even, let's see, we're in second week of school now, third week, Adam? Started third week.
This is theoretically we'll finish 2 full weeks on Wednesday.
Right.
So, but as far as faculty coming back, this is the start of week 3.
Okay, and so as far as housing numbers go, we are full. I have one suite in blue and one half suite in blue for COVID purposes. We really hit a wall last week in terms of COVID numbers. Pretty much reflected by some of the county's numbers as well. I think it hit Bourbon County pretty hard, and it hit us equally as hard. A lot of those students have moved out of protocol, and so our numbers are back down to a reasonable number. And we were able to use some of the things that we had in place last semester and last year with, we're well trained on all of this now. So when we get notified that there's a student that's positive, we go into our protocols, and my office works with Janet's office to notify instructors and get kids where they need to be, and instructors notified. And we have a pretty easy process right now. It's not something that we stress out over, which is certainly a change from last year. And so it's become the new normalcy, which I don't like, but at least it's working. So our sports, we have volleyball who has started. Their first home match is on Wednesday. We are hoping to be at full capacity within Arnold Arena, and we will have concessions. And our first football game is Thursday, September 2nd. Thursday, September 2nd against Highland, and we're anxious to see how everything works out with football this year as well. I'm just saying.
Sure.
One more. Oh,
This last Friday, we did have a student athlete who is a football player who passed away. He collapsed during a workout August 4th. He was immediately brought up to, that evening, he was brought up to KU Med. He was up there for about 2 weeks. He made some progress. Things were looking good, but he did not make it. And this last Friday, he passed away, and we're mourning his loss. And my team and roster and coaches are certainly feeling the effects of that. We had PSU and Fscc Mental Health on campus last Friday to accommodate any students who needed counseling. And those services remain available for us if we're able to identify some students that are in need of continuing care. It certainly was devastating for us, and we're doing our best to try to make sure that all the students that we have on campus are taken care of, and they're able to move forward.
Thank you, Tom, and everybody. I'm always amazed at how people step up in hard times, and we have been walking through, some dark times these past couple of weeks. I appreciate so much the leadership of my executive team, the leadership we get from the board, from the faculty and the staff. I can tell you that I personally very much appreciate it, and I'm always overwhelmed with the amount of support that we have here in this Fort Scott College that really is a community within this great community of Fort Scott. And it really is appreciated. I know that Tyrell Williams, our young man that passed away, his parents, his mother expressed several times how appreciative she was of our football staff, of Tom, and all the people, of course, that helped her through this are continuing to help her through this very devastating time. As far as school and enrollment goes, our enrollment is pretty flat. We are up from 2020, but one would expect that we would be up from 2020 because that was definitely a difficult year. When I look today, we're down a little bit from 2019. It is kind of interesting when you look, our online enrollment is now 22% of our total enrollment, which is as high as it has ever been. We still do, though, value very much our face-to-face instruction, and we believe it's critical to the success of our students and certainly the college. And so when we look at our COVID-19 mitigation policies and practices, and probably we need to talk with you all more about it at the next board meeting, our primary concern is the health and well-being of our students, our faculty, our staff, and this community. That's our primary concern. Our other huge concern is remaining face-to-face, being able to have those students have the experience of being able to be here on campus, going to their classes, as well as participating in their extracurricular activities and those sporting activities, because that's part of their overall education. And we know that especially for many of our first generation college students, that is key to their success. And so we want to remain open. We want to be able to stay open and do those things that we need to do. Now, this is a very fluid situation, as we all know. So right now, what we're asking is those people that are not vaccinated, we would expect them to wear a mask. The people that are vaccinated, we are not. We did give teachers the opportunity to determine within their own classroom whether they would be requiring masks. And Rob could tell you better than I, but I do believe we have maybe 4 or 5 instructors, which we understand completely are requiring masks for their classrooms. They do have masks available for the students when they walk into the classrooms. I can tell you that so far the students have been respectful and we haven't had any pushback on that in terms of, yes, I need to wear a mask while I'm in here. You know, we didn't know if we would have students that would choose to change their schedule or maybe change their modality and go completely online, but we have not seen that. Of course, like we say, this is a choice. I mean, college is a choice. You get to choose to be here, choose to determine which classes you want to take. And so if you don't want to take a class that doesn't require masks, or you do want to take a class that requires masks, we believe that we need to offer that to our students. It is a difficult situation, frankly, to manage, as you have seen. You know, we have people on both sides of the issue, but my side of the issue is let's stay open. Let's stay open and let's stay safe and let's stay healthy. Those are the things that we are looking at. Right now, like I said, it is just the policy of expected. We did offer last Tuesday, our 4th, I think, free vaccination clinic here on campus with CHC coming in. We'll have another one to follow up because it was the Moderna vaccine. We did have quite a few students last Tuesday take advantage of that vaccination clinic. And so we were appreciative certainly of the work that CHC has done with us to be able to sponsor those vaccination clinics that we have. As far as the budget goes, Julie had talked about that, and I wanted to thank Julie specifically because I could tell you that budget book that her and mostly Mary Ann do, that is so much work, and it is so nice that, you know, we've got those tabs and you can really look at the things, and she has really evolved that thing since her and I started here back in 2015. And it is great for me to be able to pick up and look at those things. And I really love what she did with the narrative this year and being able to tell the story a little better about what economic impact we have on this community. And not just the economic impact, but the non-monetary impact that we have on this community. And I think that she did a wonderful job with that. And I do greatly appreciate that. Other than that, I did put in a little bit of, well, actually the whole thing. I put in Cassie's marketing report that she gives. You know, a lot of our marketing now is not for old people like me that pick up the newspaper. It is a digital, of course, world, and it is a world where our students get their information virtually. It's not the way that I used to get my information about college. I still want a printed schedule, but everybody just complains and complained and complained until I finally gave up and said, we will not have a printed schedule. We will just allow for them to look at that online, even though it's just like with these budget books. Man, it sure is nice to have them in paper, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thank you. But I appreciate what we are doing digitally, and we are working really hard in that area, Cassie, is to make sure that we also are out there in that digital world so our students can see us. And of course, we have to compete with all of the other institutions of higher education that we have in this area. And I know that our faculty, our staff, our people are doing a great job with that. And so I greatly appreciate it. That completes my report, and I'd be happy to stand for questions.
Being that there are no questions, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Julie, would you call for the vote?
Yep.
Or no, excuse me.
However you want to do it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting's adjourned.
There's still a bunch of wraps back